Hey guys, and welcome back to Common Courtesy. I'm your host and moderator, Shawn Nicholas, aka Desire Some More. Here with me is my lovely co-host, Nikki Prue. Nikki, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let's get into things. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now, so let's comment on them. First and foremost, though, I just want to kind of give you some kudos because you just opened your new Etsy business this weekend, correct?
I did. Yes, finally. It was supposed to be like the middle of last week, but just due to one thing or another, it got pushed back to Sunday morning, Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
right around there.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's a jewelry store. Yep, that's my logo, Persephone's Closet. Mostly it's a lot of polymer clay, resin. I like to use dried flowers, obviously seashells. There's a multitude of materials that I use, but basically, I just like to be creative, and it kind of gives me an outlet.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
love
have
it.
a place to maybe make some money off of it. So we'll see. Also, thank you to everybody who bought from my store because I have some really awesome people in my life and sold, I think, like 4 things in the first 24 hours. So I was really excited about that.
Oh, oh. Well, I'm really excited for you too because I remember you were showing me like a couple of months ago, and while you were making things, I was getting excited. I'm like, this is really cool. Like, I
Oh,
will
thank
be getting some stuff for
you.
my young niece because like I just you're so creative. You know what I
I already
mean?
got some new ones in the works for you, so you'll be good
Oh
to
yeah.
I started them today. I was like, I found like 2 sets of studs, so by tomorrow you'll be good.
All right, so let's get into our first little topic, a little something a little light before we get into our biggest topic. Because later tonight, guys, we do have some local drag performers, some guests to talk about to talk about the discrimination that's going on in the LGBTQ plus communities, especially in our drag world. And so we'll be interviewing with some local performers tonight. But before we get to that, I wanted to kind of talk about this viral video that I
And
saw about this Georgia
listen,
police officer. Just really fast. Let me get a little backstory on it. So what happens is, she starts this video. I can't remember her name. Starts this video and she's saying how she was working all night. So she gets off the interstate and orders McDonald's on the mobile app, and comes to find out she gets in line. She has to wait. And she gets to the window and they ask her to pull off. Sometimes that happens when they do mobile orders, I believe. And then so what happens is she starts this video because she starts to tell the story how they bring the coffee first and not the food, and it just became like this thing where
well,
she
but it was
no
after making her wait like an exorbitant amount of time. And I think
right.
it's important to remember she wasn't upset because like her food took a long time. It wasn't
Okay.
just that. I think she was really stressed out and thinking that they messed with her food because she's a cop. That's
Right.
that's
Let me
what,
just play
you
this
know.
clip. Let me just play this clip real fast, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Hold on. Let me just get you. I did cut it a little bit, but let's cut the gist of it.
Right now, I'm too nervous to take a meal from McDonald's because I can't see it being made. I don't know what's going on with people nowadays, but please, just give us a break. Please, just give us a break. I don't know how much more I can take. I've been in this for 15 years and I've never, ever had such anxiety about waiting for McDonald's drive-through food. So just have a heart, and if you see an officer, just tell them thank you. Because I don't hear thank you enough anymore. All I want is just my next couple days off to just be so chill. No uniform, no nothing. Just for a couple days. It'll get better, I know it will. This will all blow over. But hopefully, it blows over sooner than later because I just want some McDonald's. I love y'all.
So I mean, at first glance, it is kind of
I
funny.
hate you for playing that.
Well, no, so, all right. At first glance, it is a funny, like it's kind of funny. Why is this person, so up in arm? Like, I don't think it was a big deal because she says, I can't see them making my food, but that's often the case when we're at McDonald's. So I mean, I'm just kind of confused as that.
I think it was normally that wouldn't be an issue, but because there's been so much negative attention on the police, and I mean, to be honest, like I can't say that I would be the same, but just I think she was probably overstressed, way overtired, had a lot of residual anxiety going on anyway, and then she goes to McDonald's for an egg McMuffin meal, and it sounded like there wasn't any the way she said it made it sound like there wasn't not like it was busy and you're waiting 20 minutes and then told to go pull over and then they come out with just a coffee. I don't know, I would probably be a little paranoid too. I definitely don't think it was just that she was mad, that she couldn't. I think it's a much
Right,
deeper, she's got this fear. And then, I mean, it did seem who knows what state of mind she was in when she made that video. I mean, I don't know. I can't put myself in her place. It
right.
did seem a little, it was definitely dramatic, but who knows what she went through that day or that week or this month. So it's hard. Like I can only imagine what's being said, on both sides about it. I kind of feel for her. Kind of like it while it kind of makes me sad, I have really mixed feelings about it because I do feel really bad. I didn't really like the message like at the end. Like this will all
Exactly.
blow over type of thing.
Exactly at the end, because I'll be honest, she did. When we had Councilman Blackman on last time, he did say we are kind of overworking the police and things like that. But at the same time, I'm just, hmm. My concern is, we one concern that Stephen brought up was like, police don't train that long; they train like 4 months, and it kind of it's right. She is sounds overworked, but it kind of was the same story with the gentleman in Texas who was shot by a police officer, sitting in his own house, so like it's just a bigger, deeper issue, because I that's why I brought this video up, not because it was funny, because I think it's a bigger
No.
issue on both sides, and I kind of want to talk about that. I mean, like she does say, I kind of because usually when people have like a stressful moment, they will say what's wrong with them, and she does says, like I just kind of want to like take a uniform off and whatever not and just take a break. I get that. But at the same time, I think it kind of it's shocking to me that we are still seeing, police, I just it's just that's where I went with it. My mind thinking about what I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think it's Botham something. The in Texas when the woman said, she was coming home from work too, so like this could have been a different story for me, but like we don't know. I just kind of feel like our government needs to come to the table and start talking. I don't believe our president's police brutality reform bill last week he put out. It was more of a it was more incentivized, giving them an incentive to do something rather than like making a big change. Do you want to comment on that before we
Well,
move on?
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I just think it was kind of just enough to quiet people down for a little while and say that he was doing something. But
Right. I mean, I think there could be a little. I definitely there needs to be more done, and I don't know what's going to happen in November. We'll talk about that later. But we have some guests waiting to get on here, so let's get to them. So yes, in the gay community, there's been a lot of things going on in our community. We just got civil rights last week. Sorry, this is hard for me to really talk about. This is very important. Last week we just got civil rights for gay and trans from job discrimination, which I thought was crazy. I get it, it was the wording, but come on, we're in 2020. That didn't have to be a reason for it had to go that far. hold this court thing. But anywho, we've been seeing protests around the world, along with the Black Lives Matter protests. I just in Chicago, I believe. I think it was this weekend. It says June 15th. I can't really remember, but it says they were doing a drag march for change, and there's some here's some clips from it. This young drag queen, I can't remember. I wrote down a clip. She said something very interesting that I can really her name is the Vixen, and she was a former drag race star. She says, working in Boys Town and in the gay bars, you have to go through so much just to stay in the room. But what good is being in the room, if you're treated like silverware? So that was something very, I can really relate to, because feel that in the I feel that in our in the drag community as well. So I'm gonna bring on some of my guests here. Here we go. First we have Justaria. I believe it's Justaria Sharrington, correct?
Yes,
Hi, how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing fine.
Welcome, welcome. Also as well, we have Apollo Infinity. How are
Hi,
you? Hey, young man, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. Also, as well, we have a good friend of mine, Aquarius. Hello, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. And last but certainly not least, we have our good friend, Nuance. He's here to join us to talk about this.
Nuisance.
Hey, how are you?
Good to be here. Thank you.
Good, good. Welcome to the camera. Welcome, guys. There's also what's been going on in the world. I believe there's been some certain situations going on in our own community. I've seen it play out on Facebook many times. I was off, to be quite honest. I think I was saying earlier, I was surprised that in this community that we're a minority, in our community. I'm surprised there's such discrimination going on. So I believe kind of contact each of you to come on the show and let's talk about it, because I believe, like I said, the one thing to get things done is to come to the table and talk about it. So I just want to kind of go around the panel. I'll go last, and whoever wants to start first, we'll start with you and tell us a little bit about your experience and discrimination that you face in the Bay Area community. Whoever wants to start, raise your hand. I'll give you the screen. It's your time.
The manifestation. Well,
Um,
why not
I
you
could start.
introduce it individually? Do you want to start with who you introduce first, or?
All right, here's what. I'll tell my story, and then because I think that it's easier for others to tell their story once, you know, I share. So I'll start first, and then I'll start with Justaria, and then we'll go to Carl, and then we'll go to and then we'll go to Apollo, and then we'll go to Nuance. That works?
I want to correct you. It's nuisance.
Nuisance, girl. I can't read. I got that Florida like read like shit.
And we cut out right then. Okay.
I can't read. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, all right.
Okay.
So nuisance. Sorry about that. So we'll go in that order. Okay. First, I'll start. My experience. I'm not gonna say like it's just in the LGBT community, because I believe this is a human rights issue. My whole thing was mostly. I remember once I was in acting school in New York City, and this school was kind of my favorite school. That it was my choice school. I wanted to go to this school, and one day after my friend had an accident and he died, um, we were in improv class, and we had to go around the table. I mean, go around the room in a circle, and kind of say like insulting things about people. A little insulting, but make it sound funny. And one of the first things was said about me was directed towards my skin color, and how dark it was. Basically, they said, I look like burnt toast. And since usually I wouldn't really have reacted, I wouldn't have reacted. I wouldn't have said anything, but it was because of my friend, he just died. I, said some things that that I really just didn't. It was rude. I basically said, I don't understand why we're doing this right now, especially when someone has passed. This is a very important situation. So, and honestly, it was for me, it was a racist. Like why do we have to go there? So that's my little thing. It's not. I do have some stories in the LGBT community, but I kind of want to just say that this happens everywhere in our community, no matter, gay or straight. So, Justaria, did you want to tell your story next?
Yes, I
Yes.
have like two, but I can make them real quick and easy.
Take
I
your
had
time.
one where, I was at a, if I say too much, it's like y'all definitely know. I was at a place, it's a very, very, very nice place. And, they were looking for people to audition. I made the cut to two, you know, and I did this, made the most screams loud. Everybody voted for me, and then I still didn't get picked. So when I asked the show director, they told me it's because they had too many girls of color already on their cast. So they had to pick somebody that was a minority. I mean, that wasn't, my color. And it really hurt me. So I have never went back to that restaurant. I never supported that place back ever again. And, you know, it is what it is.
Right. Was there, was there any point, sorry, it's hard for me to like get this out because like I said, this is very hard for me to talk about. Um, why did you feel that it was discrimination? Like, what was the feeling? Because I know you. If, I think you know what I mean. Like, there's a certain.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the fact that they asked me to come out and audition, and they said,
right.
"Oh, you're definitely make it." And then, the owner said something different because they had to meet certain people of color in their cast. And it was told to me from the show director. And the show director was a person of color. And the only reason they were the show director is because they have won national titles. And I'm gonna leave that alone. That says a lot about that person who it is. And they're
Right. Right. I'm sorry that happened to you because like I really experienced I experienced this shit in like, even in the acting world, going out to audition, they always kind of want the black guy to play a drug dealer, and that's not me. I don't sound like one. Aquarius, is it okay if we start with you next?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll be
so
right
my
back
name's
to get a drink.
Aquarius. I've been in the Tampa drag scene for about 8 years now. I've been in the LGBT community since I could walk in heels, so like 3 years old. And I do bearded drag. So it's, we talk about discrimination in the LGBT. It goes, of course, a big, huge issue right now is race issues and what Jastaria was talking about, because Jastaria is one of the most phenomenal performers I have ever seen. And she definitely gets overlooked for things I don't think that she should. I love you, sis. You're
thank you.
amazing. You're
Thank y'all so much.
amazing. Amazing. She is a phenomenal performer. Please go support her. Um, but we also have a discrimination of gatekeeping of what drag can and cannot be, and we have all these cisgendered males who normally tend to be very light skinned, deciding what can and cannot be drag. And for myself, I started off doing drag, no beard, titties, body, whatever I could to do what I was seeing happening around myself. And after a while, it brought me joy, but it didn't. It wasn't unique enough for me. I dye my hair different colors. I love to stand out. I want to be unique. So I started to do bearded drag, which when I first started doing it, I didn't see a lot of people who did bearded drag. I didn't know a lot about it. It was mostly just me trying to create something that I thought would kind of mess with gender norms and mess with fluidity, because as a cisgendered male, I've never really felt comfortable fully in that whole male presence of myself. I've always felt very just kind of in the middle and kind of flowy with it, very gender fluid. And I wanted my drag to represent that. Well, when I first started, people loved what I did. I did theater my whole life, so I was very theatrical. I got into the ballroom scene a lot, so I had entertainment value. I did all the contests, I did all the competitions, I did everything I could do, and I was always told, "Oh, I'll book you, but if you shave your face." And
Hmm.
I was like, why doesn't a community that is supposed to be loving of all sorts of kind of art and stuff like that really have an issue with my beard if I am still doing what they assume as what they want as, you know, as their drag, mold that they have. And I ended up just stop working at places. I stopped doing contests at places that wouldn't book me outside of those contests. I stopped trying because I felt there was no point for me of giving my time and my effort for places that didn't want to me. And I made myself known in other places that would support that. And that only happened because younger people were starting to run those shows. And what I mean by that is we have this generation above us, like Justaria was saying, that they feel like they have the power and the control over us younger generations of drag entertainers, of what can and can't be drag. And
Right.
now we are coming to the point where a lot of us are getting into that place of power where we do have a little bit of pull and a little bit of throw, and we're saying it's not okay. But the issue is that those people in power are still not, they're still neglecting to showcase all types of drag and all sorts of drag art forms, and to hold those people who they've been working with for years accountable for their actions. I had an issue that happened at a bar where a queen thought that they could get away with saying certain words around me, although those words aren't derogatory towards my light skin. They're derogatory to my friends and to the patrons that tip that person. And so as a younger queen, I was too scared to call her out in a dressing room where it was my first time being booked there. I was scared to call this person out. And when I did finally call them out, it kind of was put back onto me, saying my reasons weren't valid because I waited so long, or I was just trying to start drama because I wanted more bookings. And they just kind of took the whole fact away of that this person felt comfortable dropping a word that they shouldn't have been dropping when they thought no one was around. But when they get in front of other people, or let's say people of color, they
Hmm.
probably wouldn't be caught dead saying anything that they were saying. They felt comfortable because they didn't know me. And
Right.
so, a huge issue happened. Everything that happened, and the performer and I were both barred from working from that club.
Hmm.
Well, a couple months later, after things had died down, that person was in shows being booked again, and I wasn't asked to come back. So that's just my experience with seeing how a lot of the older generation, not all of them, because some of them really beautiful, but the people who hold power are not being held accountable for gatekeeping what they decide drag should and shouldn't be. And I know that has a lot to do with our next entertainer who's going to be talking, because I've definitely seen it, of the struggle. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And I'm glad you
That
brought
was
that
very
up.
long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It was all worth it. It's fine because I wanted to just make a comment about what you were mentioning earlier, what happened in that bar. I'm glad you did say something because it doesn't matter how long you wait. That's the problem in America because they'll tell a woman who was raped, "Why did you wait so long?" Like, well, look at the justice system. The justice system doesn't really doesn't make you comfortable to tell people anything. So let's not. I feel like people should stop, playing games per se, and start being real. And I'm glad you told that story because you're right. A lot of people who are in power are not holding themselves accountable, and or it's always we'll get into that later, but we'll get into that. But I'm glad you shared that story because yeah, like I said, this is something that needs to be talked about. I'm gonna go to Apollo next, if that's okay. Good. All right. Oh shoot.
Can you
Gotcha.
hear me now?
Gotcha.
Yes, we can hear
So
you.
yeah, you're
Okay,
good. You're
cool.
good. So just give us a
Okay.
little.
So I don't say things, I would say, elegantly about this, because it gets so irritating. I feel like if you're nice about shit, um, nothing gets done.
Hello.
So I put that there
Amen.
first.
No, I agree with you. You're right. You're right.
But I think the main problem that continuously repeats, and with my experience of it too, is white gay men have some sort of need for an oppression Olympics concept, and they think that because they're gay, that automatically they have some sort of understanding of oppression, and that drag is their art form to express their liberty, or their freedom that they got as gay men. And then they start to not realize that other people still haven't been put on that train, essentially, when it comes to that. And that's a lot of our trans brothers and sisters. That's a lot of our queer females, where the main idea of femininity within drag is that very like feminine gay man. So when they see a woman who's still feminine, they try to dismiss it as not drag or anything like that. And then masculinity and drag kind of gets frowned upon unless you're trade. And so when there's those little pieces that are there at the forefront, you start seeing like my own situation, like as a trans man, like I don't really do my drag feminine. It's very more on the masculine side, and that's not necessarily celebrated within the gay community. It gets more condemned. And then there's also the debate for people where is it really drag if I'm a man impersonating another man? And it's just they get all the same questions that was thrown at them, and you could just throw back the same answer, but essentially it's of no value to them. Um, so that's what I'm going to start off with. My own experience, though, is when I was still feminine presenting, I definitely was treated with a lot of like misogynistic remarks. My drag was not of equal value, or the people who do my type of drag weren't of value because there's I guess like a stereotype that kings don't put in as much work, or so forth. And if I did get recognized, it was never just a compliment of my drag. It was always like something dismissive of other people, where it's like, well, I only like your drag because you put money into it, and like you have designer clothes, so like you just look better than all these other kings. I hate how kings look, just because they don't put in effort, and I can see their tape holding their chest and all this other stuff. There's never a solidified compliment in regards to like the overall essence of drag kings in general. So that was the first thing I definitely noticed, was I was tokenized at first when I came in, as an attractive king. And then once the tokenization was over, then it became just about me like having a vagina means I'm not doing like good enough, essentially, because I don't have to go through the painful struggles that the queens do with tucking their dicks and da 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 da, as if tucking tits back in your armpits doesn't hurt
Right.
just as bad. But needless to say, there was always something about um, men's clothes are still not as fashionable, and drag queens just have more options for music and fashion. There was always this need to put a very set restriction upon it. Now that I've transitioned and I can go a little bit more passing in drag, because my voice also is now at a register that would sound more like a cis man. Um, I get a little bit more respected as a male entertainer because I'm not looked at as a woman anymore. But as soon as the trans part comes out, then there's a whole other field of reluctancy in booking me, just because I'm not as attractive anymore, because I don't have the like I have the male persona, but I don't have the actual parts to give the full fantasy.
Hmm.
And my drag just becomes more fetishized and specifically just about sex, and about, I guess, the lack of sex that I could provide to the viewers. So that's my own personal discrimination I've seen. I've also been just very vocal whenever I call shit out about what happens to other people. So that's definitely when I get a little bit in trouble and I'm the bad guy in the circumstance, kind of like what happened with Aquarius calling out people saying shit they really shouldn't be saying. Um, Makes me like aggressive, and I should have done that more kindly and whatnot. But what reason is there to be kind to someone who's being openly racist? You know, like
Exactly.
there's no reason for it. So
None.
that's essentially what I've dealt with. I would say I pass enough. As I'm lighter skinned, I mean I'm not white, but I don't think that I've necessarily been discriminated against in the drag community for my skin, but definitely for my genitalia and my gender.
Well, I think discrimination, all discrimination is discrimination. So I think, it's important to speak about. I always say, everyone's story is valid. I heard this whole thing. I've never heard this side from you, Apollo, and like really, uh, it touches me. Like it surprises me to hear just the three performances went before me. That you guys are all deliciously talented. Like I mean, Aquarius is giving me so many opportunities. That's why I fucked with her. And Adriana Sparkle, I forgot to invite her, but I see you two. Before I move on to Nuisance, I see you two really out there affecting change and giving people opportunities, and I love you guys for that. Just wanted to throw that out there. But like Apollo, that hurts me to hear you say that. It hurts me to hear you say that. Like it hurts.
That we just the main thing is you can't be nice. We have to all agree that there's a point that you can't sugarcoat shit, and you can't pat somebody on the back for the bare minimum, or basically what is supposed to be what should be the norm. I shouldn't have to pat somebody on the back for saying that they would never say the N word. I think that should be common knowledge that you
Right.
shouldn't use the N word when you're not black.
Yeah.
Why should
People
I have to
shouldn't
pat
say
you on
it.
the back? Yeah. Why should I have to be like, good job? Wow, I'm so fucking proud. Like, no. Like it's just everybody wants to be praised for just what should be common sense decency.
Yep.
Being human.
Exactly. So Nuisance, let's all come to you. I'm really let's go. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the drama. Like I'm really like y'all don't know. I'm like Oprah, like bitch. I'm out like crying and shit. That's why I get the camera on y'all. All right. Come on, baby.
Okay, so I'm going to very briefly touch on myself as an artist, but then I wanted to talk about some of the changes that are happening nationally because of these town halls and stuff like that. And I wanted to focus more on that side of things. But to very briefly touch on myself, I've been a bearded queen who transitioned into being an AMAB king, and people have hated it every which way. And I just think I find that people have the weirdest excuses for not liking different drag. Like, I was hired by a venue, filled out my W-9s and everything, and then fired because I have a beard. It just seemed strange because it was 2019 that this happened. But, at the end of the day, people have an issue with it, even as Apollo said, being a man and a king or being a woman and a queen. People have an issue with that. And I just think that what people need to think about is we want to be gendered by the persona that we create, not who we are before we put on the makeup and the costume. You shouldn't look at me and say, oh, well, you're a cis man, which means I need to use female pronouns for you in drag. I need to do this. You shouldn't be making assumptions about my identity because of who I am before I become Nuisance. I want to be labeled as Nuisance or as the persona that I create, which is an annoying dude, So that's enough about me because I speak out a lot on Facebook. I'm very vocal. I'm very quick to call things out and act for change. And I think as a white ally, it's kind of because I have nothing to lose, so to speak. I'm given second chances that performers of color are absolutely not given. So on that note, I wanted to talk about the national things that are going on. So to summarize for anyone who is watching now, who has not seen what's going on in like Chicago, Philly, stuff like that. we've had high profile white show directors in the drag scene who have been hoarding bookings, so to speak, who have had countless racial microaggressions on microphone, issues with performers about music, such as black performers can't perform these songs, or black performers need to do high energy numbers, black performers need to, do certain things or act a certain way or else they don't get booked. As Jastaria said, oh, we already have a black girl on cast or whatever, things like that. I've personally heard these said to people. I've seen it said to people on Facebook 1,000 times across the country. And so these are things that have been happening. And when people speak out, specifically black performers, when they speak out, they get blacklisted. They get banned from the shows. They're not given second chances that I've been given. And that's why I always speak out for the most part. And that's has cost me, but it doesn't really matter in the long run, because we are finally seeing change, and change is better for everyone, and so that's why, on the note of change, we have these problems here, maybe not on the same scale that Chicago does because we're not as big of a city, but we absolutely are having shows that will only cast black performers for tip spots. We absolutely have shows that blacklist anybody who speaks out about the racism of the people running the shows. So on that note, these town halls that have been happening have been a congregation of predominantly black performers coming together to make a list of demands for these show directors and communities that have been hoarding resources, bookings, etc. And they've given them a set amount of time to meet the demands, and when they haven't met them, the bars have ousted said show directors, and it's been really great to see people who have been ruling through a regime of racism finally be removed.
Right.
And we can do that here. And so I wanted to specifically offer, I know of a panelist who, their name is Ricky Rose. They do panels on the equitable inclusion for black performers of color. I wanted to offer to pay their booking fee to hire them to come and speak at a town hall for Tampa, St. Pete area about equitable inclusion for our black performers. And I wanted to offer to help write, edit, draft, distribute any sort of list of demands that the black performer community wanted to create. And that's really all I had to say.
All right, before we all kind of go around for a minute, Nicki, after hearing these stories, how do you feel, and what do you think there's a solution to? Like, what is to what's going on?
Okay, well, I'm definitely the last person to ask for a
I know.
solution. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't. All of a sudden, I'm like, here you go. I don't really. I mean, I'm kind of blown away since I met you, Shawn, and we've gotten closer and started doing the show. I feel like I've learned a lot about the drag community, and I still know nothing. And it doesn't surprise me because I know there's bullshit all over the world, but it just amazes me that you all get up there and do these amazing things. Like, I saw girls dancing on stage in heels that I couldn't even walk in 90 something degree heat during Pride last year, and it was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, and it was something that I could never do. The fact that you're meeting any adversity within the community is just, it's sad to me because it just feels like it's taking like I imagine you all get a lot of joy from it because I've seen at least some of you perform, and it's always just a pleasure to watch, and you can just see you have your heart in it. So the fact that there's this craziness that goes on in the community all over the place, it sucks. It sucks. And I guess it just goes to show, there's just no corner unturned where bullshit can't hide. Like, it's everywhere. And I'm sorry for it because, I mean, I wish it wasn't that way because I feel like nobody needs that. That's really what it comes down to.
I agree. Just one thing I just want to say is, like, all of our stories together, like I said, it's a human rights issue. And I think, like I said, coming together, we're going to figure out how we're going to fix this. Now, Nuisance just mentioned a town hall. And as we can see, some people are watching, they kind of agree with that. How do we feel here? And like, what would you demand, because we can ask for a town hall, but I think if we specify, some of the changes we like to see in our community. What changes would you guys like to see in our community, and what would you demand from a town hall?
Can I give an example?
Yes.
So I actually wanted to give this example, but also kind of commend Justaria in this, because I think of a specific example where Justaria was brave as fuck and called out a venue and a show for its racism at the show. And she was, I mean, I don't remember the exact reaction, but I'm sure she can give you a better account of it. But I recall her getting shut down very quickly and told, no, that's not possible. And I don't want to give details because I'm not trying to call this specific venue out, but it stuck with me. It very much stuck with me because not only was Justaria one of only 2 Black members in this cast, I think, you know, looking at it, there's maybe 1 Black performer every year on the cast. There's not very many Black performers getting booked. You know, so bringing up the topic of racism at this event was not, you know, uncalled for or anything like that, but immediately shut down. And, you know, I want to ask Justaria, have you had many opportunities since then with them?
Not at that place, but you know, I'm always loved where, you know, where I'm loved at, because you know, I've been asking, you know, they always say they're going to, but I ain't worried about it. I just wanted to see where, you know, when it's gonna happen. But you know, the artists, I can't even talk right now. The other opportunities are coming where the hometown has reached out to me, but you know, the crazy part is I'm way closer to Orlando than I am to, you know, Tampa, like living wise. And hey, when Orlando wants me, they figure it out. But until then, Tampa is always going to be Tampa and Polk County.
Yeah, it just struck me.
So
in a
just
way
real
that,
fast, I just want to like get back into the point about it. I just want to get how everyone felt about a town hall, because I agree we can speak out at shows and things like that, but until we have everyone in the community, because I'm not saying like I named this topic discrimination in the LGBTQ plus community, because it happens to everyone, no matter if you're Black or white, or is you transgender, woman. We all feel it. So like I like the idea of a town hall, because like I said, we can sit there and talk and be really honest with each other. So like let's see, Aquarius, how did you feel about that? Would you be open to a town hall with not only just us, but the event coordinators, the owners, basically the whole organization and the whole community?
Oh, totally. I think it would be a absolutely great idea, because I feel nowadays our really only communication with the community, or the people who are big in the community, is when we are dealing with bookings and gigs. And, that's a whole total different situation when it comes to money and what they're trying to do. And if we had a town hall where, everyone from, people who are in power and people who are just coming up can really come together, and it can be shown of what the expectation of what we want our community to promote and what our community to be viewed as, would be really, really great. They're doing it all over places. In Chicago, you have, Black Girl Magic show right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that we don't have anything like that. So right now, as Miss Justaria is, because she's in the show, they have the Culture Queen show, which is coming up. I think it's this Friday. It's this Friday and Saturday. This Friday and Saturday. It's going to be on Facebook Live. Please go and check it out. But I think it would be great if we could do that somewhere at a club and have that as a place, and have a place where we can show our demands. Because for me, it's really hard to say I have demands that I really need them to get rid of and stuff, because I benefit off of the culture and stuff like that. I am I am white passing. The only thing that holds me back is a beard, which is, so it's I would really like others who don't have that voice to have that opportunity where we're all behind them and raising their voices and allowing them to be heard, to the people who do have the power. Because I feel like sometimes that line is very, very hard to cross unless you do know people, a lot of people, do all this and that. So I think a town hall would be great for the people who maybe don't know who some new performers or performers who get overlooked are, because they don't ever get the opportunity to meet them because they're being overlooked for other people.
Right.
I'm gonna attach some stuff to what Aquarius said too, with like Black Girls Magic. Miss Toto, who used to be in Miami, now is in Chicago, is a big part of getting that formed. And I know when she was mentioning it, she was fighting tooth and nail with Boys Town, where they were trying to say that the girls were like aggressive and stuff like that way before this town hall actually happened. And there was already a lot of like microaggression coming towards just a show that was starting up. And there was a lot of rumors about how it wasn't going to have a good turnout and all this other stuff, just because they were really trying to put the show down. And that's a fear that I think a lot of entertainers around here experience too. I don't think that this is the first time anybody's wanted to have something that would be like an all black drag cast. I just think that there's probably been a lot of fear from the predominantly white show directors, which there are, a few black show directors in this area, but they also have to withhold the owners' decisions as well, you know, and making something that seems racially tense to the whiter owners isn't such a good thing for them, So it's not just our directors; it's having to have the owners of these establishments held accountable too. And we're in a very unique situation that Chicago, which is the one that's being brought up about the town halls. We
Right.
have a very unique situation that doesn't fully correlate with theirs, where Tampa, Clearwater, and St. Pete are our community. It's not just a Tampa community. So we have to
Was
congregate Tampa, Clearwater, and St. Pete to hold this as a unified town hall, not just one singular area, because my fear would be that one town gets the heat put on them, and all these people who have the guilt from getting their microaggressions and so forth called out, because I mean there was a lot of things that had to be called out from these performers. They're just gonna flock to somewhere else. So we're gonna have to congregate quite a few amount of cities that we all merge ourselves into, and that's gonna take a lot of extra planning. That might take a longer time for us to get organized. But I do want to say that we can't just have a Tampa town hall. Like it has to be St. Pete and Clearwater involved in the same exact one.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that. And Dastaria, how did you feel about that? And what do you personally, you've been in this business a long time. Do you feel that's the right way to start, or how do you feel?
I felt whatever makes movement better, I'm down for. What they gonna do?
Right. Because I
I'm
agree.
I'm there showing up, showing out. I'm gonna give you a show. I'm gonna wish you booked me, and I'm gonna bring people that belong with me too.
No, I agree with you because, like, honestly, like I said, some things, like some
had
things,
15 minutes.
when we don't try certain things, we don't know if they're
I
gonna
mean,
work. You know what I mean? We have to try it before we know it works. Because I thought it was a great idea. Nuisance brought up to me earlier during the last week. She's like, maybe we get a town hall. Because for me, I have no problem telling people how I feel. I think everyone knows that about me. I will tell the truth because honestly, I feel that the truth is the only thing that will set us free. Because the truth of the matter is, some people are overlooked that shouldn't be overlooked. And hey, it's gonna be a long fight to the top. You know what I mean? Just like Apollo said, she said that it's gonna. I mean, sorry, excuse me. I am so sorry. Just like he said, it's going to take a little bit more planning because you're right. It can't just be Tampa, can't just be Clearwater, can't just be St. Pete. In my mind, it should be like all of Florida and Orlando because I've seen this racism and discrimination for everybody in Florida in general, and I'm surprised because let me just say this real fast. What I'm surprised about is I was telling Nikki earlier that every time someone calls out some racist shit or calls out trans rights or anything like that, you have some. It's like split here. And I'm just so confused. It's like a purple state bullshit, but it shouldn't be, especially in our community because we are already minorities, and it has to stop. Because for me, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm a very talented person. I have this platform right now. I've worked hard to get here. So I'm not. I created this show just to have a voice, and I will be heard. Nikki, do
You
you want
will.
to chime off before we? Because I think we're gonna go ahead and end this unless we can get everyone else if they're okay. But Nikki, how did you
I
react
agree
to
with
all this again?
your final statement pretty much summarized all my thoughts, and that's what I meant. Like, fighting within communities when the whole country is fighting is not helpful. So I don't know what the point of it is.
The
I
hell?
Yeah,
Let's get
I don't
let's
even
grow
have
the
words for
fuck.
it. It's just
Honestly, let's grow the fuck up. I don't understand. Like
yeah.
we're because I love Jane Elliott. There's only one race. There's the human race. So it doesn't really matter like if you have an all black girls show. Because what about the Asian girls? What about the Spanish girls, the Puerto Rican
Like,
girls?
until people start being born immortal, or like we have like the ability to fly or deflect bullets, whatever. Until that happens, like we're all the same inside.
Yeah.
We all have blood, and we can all like fall off a building, and like something bad would happen. Like, so I don't know. That's my like 4-year-old argument about it. Like, it just
But anyways, guys, any of our guests want to chime in last before we close out?
Yeah.
Paul, yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say one more thing too is if we do end up having to escalate it to where we need a town hall, one of the main things I've noticed right now where there has been a lot of white guilt within the communities, and you see like the clear tokenization of like maybe one black queen in the show. We have yet to see like any AFAB, any trans queens, any kings promoted in the recent like bars that have happened. And of course, I would never want it to sound like it's deterring from what's the most important, which is Black Lives Matter right now. But if we don't try to do different segments within having a town hall, where one of the days we can focus on the microaggressions that have been on the Black community, and then a secondary day on the trans community, and then a final one on like the AFAB community. I don't think that we're really going to see much change, because if we excuse one form of discrimination that's of the marginalized community, we're eventually also going to see it revert for the one that did have progress, because if we don't snip it in the butt, it's easier to see the transgression of things decline backwards. So I think that's going to be an important thing, is that we need to schedule different days to discuss other important marginalized communities too.
Okay. Anybody else, guys?
I was just gonna say, back to where you said that we as LGBT plus people, we don't feel that we could be discriminative in any certain way because we are a minority. But it really deals with the fans and stuff like that. We talk about owners and their businesses. Well, they're only perpetuating what they think is going to make money by
Yeah.
what we are showing that we like. With shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and shows like that don't allow AbFab queens, don't allow trans queens. I've never seen a bearded queen, and I know a couple of bearded queens who would destroy that show easily. You know what I mean? There are, and I'm not talking myself, but
But you.
there are kings. But there are kings who would do great on that show doing their stuff. And I'm thankful for shows like Dragula and other shows like that. Camp Wanawiki, what is it? Wanakiki, that have promoted all types of drag, because we're still working to show that drag is not just one thing. It's an art form and is allowed to be expressed in any which way. So when we are supporting shows like RuPaul's Drag Race that is not allowing a certain type of drag to exist, it's just ridiculous. And for RuPaul themselves to be very silent about what everything is going on right now, when if you Google Dragula, their first thing that pops up on Google is support for the Black Lives Matter movement. And then on the RuPaul side, it's basically crickets on their Twitter and on their Instagram. But now we got VH1 posting their thing. And it's never really coming from, RuPaul themselves. It's a huge issue because they define to the public what is drag, because that's what people who are not in the community are seeing as what is portrayed as can be drag. And because they don't let certain performers on there, they're stopping their ability to grow as a performer and to be the best that they can be and have a platform to really change the world because of ridiculousness. And I have a very huge issue with that show showing what drag can be. And I feel like that's the issue, is because we have all these outlets showing our fans what drag can be, and then those fans think that they can tell us what they think drag should be. I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, you should shave your beard, or why do you keep your beard, or any of that sort, telling me what I should do with my art form. And it's the things that are around us that are telling our fans and telling those people what drag can be. And I think that we're not pushing for those to be dismantled.
And also,
That's all I
if
have
you
to
look
say.
right now
Mhm.
too, like Southern Nights, the queens that are from Drag Race right now that are on the schedule have been 3 white queens since COVID have started, and I know the white queens have a higher booking fee typically than the black queens, so it also seems unreasonable that we couldn't have maybe booked, which I think should obviously get the same amount of pay as these white queens, but with the given situation, it's World of Wonder and all them that are choosing the booking fee. We could have had 6 black queens with that budget come in instead of 3 white queens.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows that Drag Race has such an influence on what the owners think is going to bring more people in.
Right. Oh, right.
What really sucks about that too is that because Drag Race creates the standard of what drag is, you have so many people pushing so hard to create great drag, and they bring it to their local venues, and those local venues cherry pick only a specific kind of people who are doing their best work. And it pushes everybody else to audition for shows like Dragula, Camp Wanakiki, because there is so little platform between local venues and national television for drag. There's so little platform between, and what is there is strictly for white, usually thin, conventionally attractive cis male queens. So it pushes us to create our best work and give it to everyone basically for free. And that's a system that
For
they all
free.
exploit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing a triple sow cow into a death drop split, baby, they're not tipping you.
A pussy splat.
Don't even say pussy splat.
And just started
splat.
smiling because she says, bitch, I do 2 of those in a row and they still won't book me.
Yeah, I've seen.
Jumping off buildings,
He
heads
jumps
into a
off
split.
building.
I've seen Dastaria
Let's
perform
throw it.
before, and I was just like fucking blown away. I'm like, why haven't I
Magical.
seen her? Am I on? Oh, I'm like, why haven't I seen her
Daria
at a
whips
place like
the fake beard off of me.
I was like, why haven't I seen Dastaria at like Enigma, something like that? Some places where we can be.
Honey
'Cause
pot everywhere.
yeah, like, because honestly, I think everything that everyone just said, you're right. Because we do have a bigger media source out there. Like to me, RuPaul's Drag Race and the drag news is like it's like news media. They're not showing everything that actually goes on in the clubs because versus RuPaul and versus what I've seen actually go on in the bar, it's a lot different. So I mean, I definitely think that she should be a part of the conversation. She should be pulled, like not just us. Everybody should be calling this hoe out because really, RuPaul has a bigger voice, more power. Why isn't she saying anything about black other black artists being up there? Because it's kind of like what some of the African American community say about Obama. It's like, oh, he got what he wanted. You know what I mean? So it's like fuck everyone else. I mean, that's how I kind of feel. Like, and I'm also, just before we go, like before we're all done. Oh, somebody got it.
Thank you. Somebody just came by and tipped me. Thank you,
It's what you
love.
deserve.
The
Thank you.
power.
That was so
The
awesome.
absolute power.
I love that.
That was so sweet. I'm about to cry.
I
Oh,
love it.
That.
oh, that's so
But I'm glad we got a chance to share our story here, because this is like the truth of the matter. Like, the truth of the matter is, like I said, the town hall, I will definitely be there, because my ass, I don't know if you guys saw me like protesting. I have no
Yes.
issue saying the right shit. I mean, like, come on, this is true. Because I've said something to a lot of like show directors, and it's always a sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it anymore, because what we need
It is.
action. We need
Exactly.
action. We need
Where's
the
the
people
action?
who are out there who are saying that, oh, we support you, we support you. Well, where's the bookings, hon? Where's the exposure? Because when I came to Florida, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna say, when I came to Florida after like years of living here, like this is my hometown. So St. Petersburg is my hometown, and I come back and I see downtown, and there's all these gay bars, and there's so many like new places that I can go to on this strip, and it seems so opening and inviting. And actually, I find out, even, yeah, it's old and young gays. They don't really. One, people don't want to go to the garage. Some people don't go to this bar. It's to me,
Mhm.
honestly. We can say, I say right now, what's going on in the world, it's a perfect time to talk about a lot of things that are happening, because a lot of us want equal rights, dude. Equal rights. That's the bottom line of it. I'm over it. Like, I'm tired of seeing, like, hearing stories about women or trans women being killed, or just women being raped and nothing being done. And you have the justice system out there, with their pants around their fucking ankles. I can go on about this. But yeah, I'm glad you came to the show, because I've seen you perform, and my heart goes out to you. I'm not gonna cry, but I've seen it, and I'm glad that we had this conversation, because it's very brave to come to the table and talk about it. I can call people out, but what good is that? If they won't want to come to the table, then it's not going to be, it's not going to do anything. But that's all the time we have for today, guys. I would like to thank my guest for joining us for this very, very candid conversation. We have up at the right, we have Nuisance. Under him, we have Justaria. Next to her, we have Apollo, and next to him, we have Aquarius. Thank you guys for joining us, and please,
Thank you guys so much.
thank you. Let's keep fighting for this, because change will not happen if we stay
For having
silent.
me. For having us.
And Breonna
Y'all
Taylor
inbox
murders are
me.
so free.
Just make sure y'all inbox me. We have more to talk about too, sis.
Oh, hold on. Let me end the broadcast. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Oh, shit.